How's it? Welcome back. So I've been talking a lot about AirPods lately and how they can help you lucid dream and how they can even be helpful for just like straight up falling asleep and sleep in general by simply putting them in your ears, not listening to anything, turning on the noise canceling function, and essentially using them as like super duper expensive earplugs. But as I've been playing around with them a lot more lately, I've also found that they can be helpful with hypnagogic meditation as well, which is where you get down into stage one of sleep, lucidly or consciously aware. And so the other day when I was taking a nap, I threw in my AirPods and I was actually listening to my first ever like official directly from the Monroe Institute, one of their HemiSync gateway tapes that I got from the website and everything. And I'll do a deeper dive into this particular track in another video. The one I picked up was Surf, which I got off of a recommendation from this YouTube channel I gave a shout out to several videos back, Michael Superstar Gateway Explorer First Class. Quite the mouthful, but at least you can tell what his channel is primarily about. By his channel name, he likes to talk a lot about HemiSync and the gateway tapes, but he really liked this the session called Surf. And so I was trying to find it like for free on SoundCloud or YouTube or something like that. Couldn't find it anywhere. And then also another kind of side note is when you do find some of the ones on YouTube, at least the ones I've come across, the audio is pretty crappy, where like it's very important for these binaural beats or HemiSync stuff to have the audio properly split. And so in several of the ones I've listened to, or really everyone I've listened to off YouTube, when they're saying like, okay, you should only hear me in your right ear, there's always been a little bit of bleed over into the left. So that kind of defeats the purpose of this whole binaural beat thing. I found some pretty good sound quality ones on SoundCloud if you want to go on there to search it out. But I was looking online to try and find free versions of it because that's all I've ever used up until this point. Couldn't find the actual Surf track, so I dove in. I bought the MP3 version, which I know Michael says like don't do that because the sound quality on MP3 isn't as good as say like a WAV file. But just personally speaking, I have tons of binaural beats, right? I've had them for probably like close to 10 years now. I was really trying to get into it back then. So I have a bunch of, I believe they're in the WAV format. I forget what format they're in, but I have like hundreds of high quality binaural beats. And to be honest, kind of getting off on a tangent here, I've never really been able to tell much of a difference between like those versus just generic meditative like music or nature sounds, right? But this whole approach I'm talking about, it doesn't even have to be HemiSync or binaural beats. This would work perfectly fine in the same way if you were listening to generic nature sounds, just some generic relaxing meditative like music. And so what I noticed is as I was listening down, my first ever time diving into the Surf HemiSync track, it was nice. I don't want to get off on a tangent. I'll talk about that specifically later. But what I noticed and helped me get into the hypnagogic state, lucidly aware, is that as I was listening to it, I was kind of just like lost in the sauce, not super lucid, but still kind of my conscious awareness was popping up there every once in a while to check in on things and also kind of just wake me up because I was starting to fall asleep. Is what I began to notice is that in the background noise of the waves and the Surf track, it started to sound like there was actual like music playing, like there was bleed through of like a radio station or something like that. And that initially caught me off guard, and I was thinking like, wait a second, is that like part of the track? The track is like 45 minutes to an hour, right? So I was somewhere within that time frame. I was thinking like, oh, what is that sound? And initially I was thinking it was probably mixed in with the track, but then I kind of, my awareness kicked in too much and I woke up more. And then I realized, oh wait, that was all in my head, right? I was starting just to hallucinate or liminal dream that background noise. And so then I knew I was starting to slip into stage one of sleep hypnagogia. And for me, I'm more visual, so I would just kind of transition from that into noticing the visuals that are popping up. But just simply listening to whatever it is you are listening to, whether that be generic, whatever non-binaural beat version of some meditative track or generic nature sounds or something. As you're listening to that, lying down, falling asleep, if you start to notice that there's some weird, odd background noise mixing in, well then guess what? You're probably in already stage one of sleep. So then you can start playing around in that liminal dream state, lucidly or consciously aware. Some other thing that I started to notice too, and I've brought this up in a bunch of my videos in the past, but another sign that you are into stage one of sleep is you won't be able to really feel your body anymore and tell what position you're in. So like I was lying in bed and I remember starting to feeling like I was lying like totally sideways in the bed. I was thinking like, how did I move or adjust to get to that point? And then it just dawned on me, wait, I'm actually not in that position. I'm just starting to, hallucinate some shit. But anyway, fun thing to kind of try out. Just another cool way to make use of AirPods, I guess, in this case. And yeah, I'll make another video on my thoughts specifically on the, the HemiSync Gateway Experience Track Surf. So yeah, that's coming up in the future. Until then, keep your meditation practice legit.